everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coming Up Milhouse. Today is our very special episode that we've been waiting for a bit. It is October, so it's Halloween season, and today we are talking about the very first Treehouse of Horror. This is Season 2, Episode 3, and basically there are 3 parts.
Yep, there are 3 distinct stories. Bad Dream House, Hungry Are the Damned, and The Raven. And all of them have some good things to offer. And rather than recap what they're all about, you probably know what they're about. Let's just go right on into our discussion, and we'll talk about pieces of them as we go. So let's start off with lines. Do you want to give me one of your favorite lines?
So one of my favorite lines is from the Bad Dream House. We've had our differences, but we've never had knife fights before.
I like that episode a lot. It's like a parody of Poltergeist, right? You know, and other things, Amityville Horror,
right?
Shining.
Quite a few.
Yeah, but all of them, Bart, Lisa, Homer, Maggie, all have like either an axe or a hatchet or a knife, and then Marge has a knife, and you think that she's going to be part of it, and she's using this big serrated knife.
Right.
To put mayo on a sandwich, and she's not even part of that.
No.
I like that part. It's so funny.
Right. The house tells them they're all going to kill you, and you need to get the knife. Yeah. Butcher knife, Lisa. And so,
But apparently left Marge out of that, but she was getting a knife anyway.
So in that episode, I think it's great that Marge blows up and tells the house off, because the house, it's a haunted house, and it's built on an Indian burial ground with some really hilarious gravestones. So if you're watching the episode, please note that, because they're pretty clever with their headstones.
They are.
And Marge just tells the house to shut up and grow some manners, which I think is pretty great. Yep,
good stuff. I like that one a lot. So my first line, I'm going to skip to the second episode, is Hungry Are the Damned. And it's got all the aliens that we will know and love as these seasons progress. But it's got Kang and Kodos. So there's this kind of gag where they get in there and Kang is talking to them, and they hear it in English. And Homer says, "Wow, you speak English." And Kang says, "Actually, I'm speaking Rigelian. As a strange coincidence, both of our languages are exactly the same."
Which I think that's a great line, and I think that's a funny scene too, because then there's a third alien that we don't know its name, and then it says in order to pronounce its name, it's going to have to cut your tongue out. But it's English.
But they speak English. But they name their people something other than English. So,
I thought that I had to note that, because I thought it was pretty hilarious.
That is good. So, all right, what about another line?
My second line comes from that episode, and not too far after that scene. So they are getting fed. It's kind of a play on a Twilight Zone episode for sure. And then Kane or Kodos says, "If you wanted to make Sarek the Preparer cry, then mission accomplished."
Sarek the Preparer, and he's like, I've slaved
in the kitchen for days.
Yeah, they were riffing on To Serve Man, the Twilight Zone episode, and to cook humans. No, there's dust on it. To cook 4 humans. Wait, to cook 40 humans. To cook 40 humans. They just kept going.
There was so much space dust on that book. It took a lot of blowing off the book to get all that space dust. They need to clean that space.
They need to get a space duster up there.
I know. It's not a very sanitary kitchen if there's that much space dust on the cookbook.
All right, so my second line goes to the very end of the episode where, first of all, we didn't mention how it's Bart and Lisa in the treehouse telling each other these stories, and Homer's actually listening in on them, and he's the one getting scared, so we didn't even mention that, but I like to throw that out there.
Yep.
So at the end, Lisa tells the Raven, she reads Bart the Raven from Edgar Allan Poe, And Bart's like, well, that's not very scary. And she says, well, it was written in 1845. And Bart says, oh yeah, like when you look at Friday the 13th Part 1. Pretty tame by today's standards. And I noted that because, this episode was made in the late 80s. And Friday the 13th began in the early 80s.
Yep.
So this wasn't really that far removed from the first Friday the 13th. But even, as that decade prepared, just kind of went further, they pushed the envelope more. And this line is a good indication of that. So that was my line.
What about your favorite scene?
All right, so I'm going to go with back to the Hungry Are the Damned. And at the beginning, they're out there like making a cookout, and Homer's, making hamburgers, and the spaceship comes over them. And they're beaming everyone up. They beam up Lisa, they beam up Maggie, they beam up Marge, they beam up Bart. And then they go to beam up Homer, and the beam hits Homer, and he's too fat for it to work, so they have to put a second beam on Homer in order to bring him up. And that I just chose that. That was a funny moment. I like that scene a lot.
So that's exactly what I have written down. But so if I had to pick a segment as a whole, that's my favorite of the 3 segments for sure. Like that. But that's exactly, Tractor Beam has issues pulling Homer in is what I wrote down in my book, because that's my favorite part of this episode. I think it's really funny. But that whole opening, so they're having a cookout in the backyard, and the bug zapper is legit right above the barbecue grill. And right before he starts grilling, he turns the bug zapper on. And then it zaps something really large, so that fell directly into the grill.
And the sound effect of that was like, it must have zapped like a big beetle or something, man. That thing fried something big.
It sounded like it zapped a small animal, so I don't know. It was just kind of, and then the tractor beam part. Yeah, so that was my
good opening sequence. Let me ask you this before we go into winners and losers. What was your favorite of the 3 segments?
That one.
That one,
the Hungry Are the Damned.
I would say that's probably my favorite too, but I am biased because of the riff on the Twilight Zone episode. It just worked well for me as well.
Right.
All right, so let's go to winners. Want to do me your winner?
My winner is the realtor of the Bad Dream House.
Oh, good pull. Mr. Plute.
Because who else is going to buy a house that is cursed and on top of an Indian burial ground for thousands of dollars? Except for Homer. Mm-hmm. And then, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched this episode before you're watching us, the house decides that it doesn't want to live with the Simpsons. That's all I'll say. And they're out of a house, but they've bought the house. Mm-hmm. So the realtor made a sale and got his commission, whether they have a house or not.
Good.
So
good one. I like it. So I'm going to go with Bart Raven. And so again, when Lisa's reading the Raven to Bart, we have the Simpsons playing the parts of it. So Homer is the narrator. And then Bart is the Raven. There's a Raven that looks like Bart. And there's this part where Homer is going crazy as the narrator. And he keeps telling the Raven, take that beak from out my heart and take that form from off my door. And the Raven's not complying. And he keeps saying, take the beak from out my heart. And then finally he does what Homer always does when he gets frustrated with Bart. He's like, why, you little? And he goes to choke the Raven. But the Raven gets away from him, and it occurred to me that this is one of those times when Homer does a "Why you little" and goes for Bart, and usually chokes Bart when he does that. Yeah. But in this sequence, when Bart is the Raven in a Halloween episode, he gets away from that Homer and doesn't get choked, and so that's why I went with Bart the Raven.
Nice.
Who was your loser?
My loser is Edgar Allan Poe. Because the Simpsons kids are so desensitized to everything horror, going back to what you mentioned about Friday the 13th, they're so desensitized that they are not terrified of the Raven story. And Edgar Allan Poe has some legit scary stories out there. It's just, he's one of my favorites. So the Raven, yes, it's not blood and gore terrifying, but it's still pretty intense and creepy. And so Edgar Allan Poe's my loser.
That is good. That is a good observation. But I will say this: that I think Bart was biased because it was based on a book, and he doesn't like reading, so he might have tried to downplay the power of Poe because it was a book. And
right, but even Maggie's in that scene, and she doesn't seem to be terrified at all. And Lisa's reading it and is, just
Lisa at least picked it. So
yeah, that's true. Homer, on the other hand,
Homer is terrified.
Is terrified.
Yeah, so it worked on him.
Right.
So there you
but
go.
Still my loser. What about you?
All right. So I'm going to go back to something you said with my loser, and the Bad Dream House is my loser because, first of all, it's trying to do all its stuff to scare them, and then it gets completely shut down by Marge. I mean, Marge is like, listen here, House. You're going to stop trying to scare us. And you're going to... She just lets into the house. And then Bart picks up on this and he's like, we own you. Start bleeding. I want to see what you got. And then the house all of a sudden realizes that, my tricks ain't going to work.
Yep.
And wait, now I got to live with the Simpsons? And let me think about this. Life with the Simpsons. Well, what choice do I have? Now, you said spoiler alert. I will say, if you haven't seen this one and you don't want to know what happens to the house, stop listening right now, but I'm going to say it. The house implodes like the house in Poltergeist and disappears. So it would rather disappear into space than live with the Simpsons.
Into nothingness than live with the Simpsons.
So that was my loser for this first Treehouse of Horrors episode, but we will have more coming because October has just begun.
Right.
And we're going to do our season 3 one, which is the season we've been mainly working on. We're going to do that one next, correct?
That's correct.
All right, very good.
Anything else about this episode?
Nope, just it kicked off the Treehouse of Horrors, which I will go out on a limb here and say is one of my favorite things The Simpsons does.
Yep.
I look forward to it all the time. I would... If they could do a Treehouse of Horror year-long show, and I would watch it. I don't even need it to be, I don't need it to be Halloween to watch these. I watch them all the time.
I know.
So
we watch them year-round.
Yeah. So that is what I will say, and I'm very excited to be talking about these this month.
Me too. So if you like what we have to say, give us a like and give us a subscribe down here and follow our channel. And please feel free to make comments. Tell us what your favorite scenes, your favorite lines, your favorite characters, so on and so forth are in the comments below. And until next time,
Jiminy Jillikers!